The Montreal Canadiens came into Saturday night flying high, fresh off of back-to-back victories against the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. The Habs were going to have to get through this one without Alexandre Texier, so it was Kirby Dach who moved on to the first line with Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki. Joe Veleno drew back into the lineup on the fourth line with Bolduc and Evans, while Jakub Dobeš, the man of the hour himself, was given a third consecutive start after two brilliant outings against Vegas and Colorado. He's looked transformed in his last two starts, and it's been a refreshing change to see the Canadiens getting the better of the goaltending duels of late. Dobeš was going to have to keep playing at an extremely high level as the Canadiens traveled to Buffalo to take on the Sabres, who are the NHL's hottest team and have been on an absolute tear. Buffalo, a staggering 23-1 over their previous 24 games coming into this one, and more recently having rattled off 5 consecutive wins coming into Saturday's affair. An absolutely insane pace made all the more unbelievable considering just how dreadful the team has been for the last decade plus, and it's Alex Lyon who drew the net for the Sabres in this one. He's posted 10 consecutive wins of his own, and during that stretch he's had a save percentage of .933 and a goals against average of just 1.94. The puck was dropped in this one, and the first period was a relatively even affair, all things considered, with Dobeš and Lyon both getting tested early with shots from distance. Dobeš saw a bit more of the action early and looked very comfortable in his net, highlighted by a big save with the left shoulder on Jason Zucker. The pace of the game was quite high, and these two young teams both looked very at ease with that quick pace. Watching these two clubs face off, it looked like two of the top teams in the NHL were going at it, and it's something I don't think many people thought would be so for several more years, but it definitely bears saying. The chances came frequently for both teams until about halfway through the period when the Canadiens were able to draw a penalty on Tage Thompson for interference. Montreal went on the power play for the first time in the game, and it was the first unit getting it done yet again. We've discussed in recent games just how important the special teams battle has been, and Juraj Slafkovsky was the man to get it done this time. Slafkovsky fired a one-timer into the back of the net from the slot on a nice dish from Nick Suzuki to net his 21st goal of the season. Caufield drew the other assist, and the Montreal Canadiens found themselves out in front 1-0. It was great passing, patience, and vision by Suzuki and Caufield on this one, and Slafkovsky has found himself a nice home in the slot of late. That goal is quickly becoming one of his signature plays. Buffalo responded by peppering Jakub Dobeš for the final minutes of the frame, and the Czech rookie came up with a ton of nice, solid-looking saves. Whereas in previous games, Dobeš would seem to be swimming around in the crease and never really appearing comfortable with his positioning, his confidence in his placement has rarely looked as good as it does now, and he really does look like a transformed goaltender. It's really amazing to see how much of an impact the mental game and some little tweaks from a coaching perspective can have for a goaltender, even at the NHL level. All that's not to say the Canadiens didn't continue putting their own shots on target either. Ivan Demidov had a really nice chance to extend the Habs' lead on a rocket of a one-timer, but Lyon was just able to squeeze it into his body. Montreal made it into the first intermission ahead by a goal. The shot total was even at 11, and all in all, it was a strong effort by the Canadiens in the first period. The Habs went into the second period, and unfortunately, those second period woes seemed to follow the Habs into this one. Montreal was badly outshot and outchanced in the period, and Jakub Dobeš was effectively hung out to dry for large portions of the second period. The Canadiens took 3 minor penalties in the period, which really facilitated Buffalo's efforts to control momentum and dictate the pace of play. Hudson went off first on a trip. Jakub Dobeš stepped up with a few really nice stops to help kill the penalty. Montreal had a brief reprieve when McLeod got called for hooking and gave the Habs a power play of their own, but the few looks Montreal did get were kept out by Lyon, and the onslaught continued for the Buffalo Sabres until about the 7-minute mark of the period, when on a delayed penalty, the Sabres pulled Alex Lyon for the extra attacker. Some tired Canadiens defenders got pinned in their own zone, and Owen Power was able to find the back of the net for just the 4th time this season. Thompson and Dahlin worked their magic to open up space in the Canadian zone, and the Habs, who seemed to be playing on their back foot for the entire period, just couldn't keep up. Dobeš had a man directly in front of him. He had absolutely no shot of stopping this one, as the Sabres drew even and started to make Habs fans really nervous in this one. And the Sabres did not let up either, continuing to pepper Dobeš, who appeared to be the only player in white who showed up ready for the second period. Dobson and Hudson ended up taking back-to-back high-sticking penalties for the Montreal Canadiens, and it really felt like it was just a matter of time until the Sabres blew this one open. Finally, with the Sabres swarming and on the man advantage late in the period, A shot from the high slot was pushed aside by Dobish. It ended up deflecting wide of the net. The puck was picked up in behind the net by Tuch, who wheeled around, found Noah Ostlund streaking down from the point. Ostlund just ripped one by Dobish, and he gave the Sabres their first lead of the game, putting them ahead 2-1. The second period was definitely a period to forget for the Montreal Canadiens. As has way too often been the case this season for them, they ended up being outshot 12-6, with the Canadiens doing very little offensively prior to that Sabres go-ahead goal. The good news for Montreal is that deficit sat at just a goal, and they still had 20 minutes to erase that deficit. And we all know just how prolific Montreal has been at these late game comebacks this season. So the teams came out for the third period, and it was immediately noticeable that the team looked much more engaged. They took it to Buffalo, and they really pushed for that equalizer. Dobish made the saves he needed to, and he was rewarded when just 3 minutes into the period, Noah Dobson directed a shot towards the net. Cole Caufield alertly deflected the puck on target as it was sailing by him, fooling Alex Lyon in the process and evening up the score at 2. It's Cole Caufield's 31st goal of the season. And would it really be a Saturday night without Mr. Saturday Night himself scoring a goal? Cole Caufield really seems poised to become the Canadiens' first 40-goal scorer in over 30 years. And with 16 minutes to go in this one, we had a brand new game. Montreal kept the pressure up, and a terrific forecheck by Kirby Dach resulted in a battle which he won down low. Dach retrieved the puck, dished it to Nick Suzuki, who noted the Buffalo defenders were out of position and spied Cole Caufield creeping towards the crease. He got the puck over to Caufield. Caufield made no mistake in burying this one in the back of the net for his second goal in 6 minutes and his 32nd of the season, putting the Canadiens back in front 3-2. The Habs fans in the building celebrated. An ocean of red was visible in Quebec Center. They were visibly jumping for joy as the Canadiens stormed back and were suddenly putting the Sabres at risk of suffering just their 4th regulation loss in their last 25 games. Buffalo had a late power play, and for some reason Lindy Ruff elected not to pull the goaltender for the 6-on-4 for the full 2 minutes. Jakub Dobish and his post came up with monstrous stops on the Sabres, and when the Sabres finally did end up pulling their goalie, the Habs were able to win a battle for a puck down low, and it was Oliver Kapanen who fired a puck all the way down the ice from his own net into the yawning cage, and he gave the Canadiens a 4-2 lead with just 48 seconds to go and sealed this one for the Montreal Canadiens. Sabres fans more than a little salty about this one when Jakub Dobish accidentally knocked the net off of its moorings at one point, but at the end of the day, they just got Dobished. There's no other way to say it. 36 saves on 38 shots, a .947 save percentage, and for the 3rd game in a row, Montreal had the best goaltender on the ice in their net. The penalty kill didn't perform up to the level it had in recent games, with one official power play goal against, as well as that one goal while the Sabres were on a 6-on-5 with a delayed penalty. But fortunately for the Canadiens, Jakub Dobish more than made up for the penalty kill's shortcomings. And while the Canadiens still do have some things to work on with their game, all things considered, Buffalo has to be treated as one of the best teams in the NHL with the way that they've played over the last third of the NHL season. You're not likely to go through a game without at least a few struggles against a team of that quality. So Montreal wins, they move back into 3rd place in the Atlantic, and most importantly, they now sit 8 points ahead of the nearest non-playoff team in the East, that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Montreal gets ready for another big test with a road game in Minnesota on Monday night against another top 5 team in the league. But what a great game for the Canadiens. Really strong effort, really happy with the way that they played. Anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you made it to the end of the video, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and have a great night, guys.